Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the dark side with the Blokees Champion class Darth Vader model kit. This is Blokees' take on one of the most iconic villains in cinematic history. And we're going to find out if this kit does the Sith Lord justice. Let's get started. Starting with the packaging. The front shows a photo of the fully built figure looking menacing, lightsaber ignited. One thing I noticed is that while this is part of Blokees' M-size scale model kits, it doesn't clearly indicate if it's 1/12 scale or 13.40 cm like the Superman and Deadpool kits. Really need to clarify their scaling system because collectors often care about display compatibility, and this lack of consistency might make some hesitate. The right and left side show more promo shots of the completed figure. The back showcases additional poses, all accessories and runners included in the kit. Top has another product image, while the bottom includes the usual legal information and QR code for product verification. Now, let us unbox this and see if Blokees did justice to Darth Vader. Inside the box, we have 11 runners with all the figure's parts. The two pieces cape made from soft rubber, not cloth goods unfortunately. Pre-painted and pre-cut parts for the head, chest, and torso. Display-based components, pre-cut joints and pegs for articulation, and of course the instruction manual that walks you step by step through the entire build. Everything looks neatly organized and well molded, typical of Blokees' recent kits. Next, let's move to the build. I'll be showing it in a speed build format so you can see the full assembly process. During the build, I did notice a few things. Some joints were unusually tight, especially the connecting ball joint between the waist and the thigh. On the other hand, a few parts were too loose, like the helmet that kept popping up and the neck joint. The cape also just rests on the neck area without actually locking into the shoulders, which was a bit disappointing. Other than those issues, most parts fit perfectly and snap securely together, locking in place as expected from Blokees engineering. Darth Vader comes with 7 alternate hands, including one hand that's permanently fixed holding the lightsaber. It's an unusual design choice, but it does help maintain a secure grip for display stability. Though, personally, I think the portion of the hilt he's holding is a bit oversized. He also comes with 2 lightsaber blade effects. And a display-based attachment system. However, this part could have been executed better. You need to completely replace the lower half of his boot with a special piece that tabs into the base, which feels unnecessary since there are already peg holes under his feet. A simple peg-in base system would have worked better. Here's a 360-degree look at the fully built figure. And I have to admit, he looks really good. The combination of matte and glossy finishes give his armor visual depth, which is essential since Darth Vader's armor is entirely black. The figure's presence is strong and imposing on display. However, because of the rubber cape, he's noticeably back-heavy and can't stand on his own. I actually have to use tack it to make him balance on my rotating display stand. Thankfully, he comes with a base that helps support him properly. Taking a closer look, the sculpt of this figure is impressive. The molded textures and pre-painted armor details give the figure a premium finish. The head sculpt looks accurate, though as I mentioned earlier, the helmet tends to pop up easily. I'm probably going to glue mine to keep it in place. The cape is just hanging loosely on the neck. This is a design flaw for me. In my opinion, it breaks the silhouette slightly. But overall, the armor design and sharp detailing still make this one of the better looking Blokees releases. Once you attach the lightsaber, the display really comes together. I would even say that their decision to include a fixed lightsaber holding hand was a good call for the more cleaner look in action poses. Now let's go with articulation. I'll be doing this without the cape. Now, the neck connection feels unstable because of the loose helmet and, well, the connection of the neck itself, making the head articulation a bit frustrating. For the shoulder and hand articulation, it does have a pretty good range. Same thing that you would expect from a Blokees model kit, especially if you build the Deadpool and Wolverine, which are really articulated figures. On the other hand, the torso and waist movement, the range here is pretty limited. It's just on the way they design it. This could have been done better. And the rubber part hanging from the waist restrict the legs' mobility. I'm really surprised why they didn't use up goods on this one in order to have better range when it comes to articulation. Anyway, still, for a model kit, it's decent, but definitely not on par with Blokees' earlier figures like Superman or Wolverine in terms of possibility. Okay, now for size comparison, scale wise, it is actually the biggest Blokees model kit that I've built so far because it is 6.25 inches or around 16 centimeter. So if you will look at here next to the maximum Spider-Man, height-wise, they are actually almost the same. So it is close to Hasbro's size. Let's see him next to a Wolverine, to a Hasbro Wolverine. So there he is next to a Hasbro Wolverine. Let's see him next to a G.I. Joe Classified. So size-wise, again, the scaling of Blokees confuses me because this is supposed to be the medium size, but it is actually kind of like, I would say it's like a quarter an inch shorter than Hasbro. Let's just do it. So here he is next to the Blokees Superman. Again, quarter an inch taller. And then here he is next to the Blokees Wolverine, which is 5.5 inches. Again, also size M, but I don't know. Maybe Star Wars have its own scale. So here is next to the Deadpool one. So scale-wise, Blokees is really kind of confusing right now because they are all size M, but they are different sizes. But maybe it works because I assume that Darth Vader is taller than Deadpool and Wolverine, but Superman, it's just I actually have Darth Vader's back leaning on the wall because, as I said, the rubber cape makes him back heavy, so he cannot stand on his own. So, what do you think about the scaling of Blokees, guys? These are all supposed to be size M. Anyway, guys, I'll let you decide. Is this scaling okay for you? For me, actually, I think I think Blokees still need to go back to the drawing board and work on their scaling. So here's my final verdict on the Blokees Champion class Darth Vader. On the positive, excellent sculpt and surface detail. It has a strong visual presence with premium-looking armor finishes. Good snap fit engineering overall. The pre-painted parts also elevate the final result. On the negatives, inconsistent skill labeling across Blokees releases, loose helmet and neck joints, the rubber cape limits articulation and balance, and the overcomplicated base connection system. I hope this review helps you decide if this model kit is worth picking up. All I can say is that this is the first time for me that the overall build experience is not as smooth and stress-free as their earlier releases. But I guess that is just me because after building a lot of model kits, I developed this feeling of being stressed when I feel that there are decisions made on the build that could have been better, and as a result, I already predict that the finished product will have limitations on articulation and balance. But overall, despite its flaws, this is still a solid Darth Vader model kit. The final build looks great on display and captures that menacing Sith Lord aesthetic very well. If you're a Star Wars fan and enjoy building model kits, this one is still worth picking up, especially if you're okay with making a few adjustments or fixes during the assembly. Well, that wraps up my unboxing, build, and review of the Blokees Champion class Darth Vader. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more reviews on model kits, action figures, and collectibles. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.